Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair at Earth Defense Command. The room buzzed with quiet activity as officers worked at their stations. Outside the windows, he could see the lights of Denver glowing in the evening darkness. It was a normal Tuesday night until the emergency alert sounded. The main screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared, with blue skin and large, dark eyes. Morrison had seen Zenithians before, but this one looked desperate. The translator box crackled as the alien began to speak. "This is Ambassador Veltar of the Zenithian Republic. We need help. Please, anyone who can hear this message, we are running out of time." Morrison leaned forward. The Zenithians were peaceful traders who lived in 12 star systems about 50 light years from Earth. They had always been friendly to humans and had never asked for military help before. "The Korthak Empire has attacked 6 of our worlds," Veltar continued. His voice shook through the translator. "They destroyed everything. Billions are dead. Their war fleets are heading for our capital world right now." General Patricia Hayes walked up behind Morrison. She was a tough woman with gray hair who had fought in 3 different wars. "How long do they have?" she asked quietly. Morrison checked, the data coming through with the transmission. 3 days, maybe 4, before the Korthak reached Praxis Prime. On the screen, Veltar was still talking. "We have tried everything. Our fleets cannot stop them. The Korthak have weapons and shields that are far better than ours. They adapt to every attack we make. We lose 10 ships for every one of theirs. We destroy." Morrison knew about the Korthak Empire. They were a warrior race that had conquered half the galaxy over the past 200 years. Their technology was advanced, and their military was ruthless. They never showed mercy and never accepted surrender. "Your species has a reputation for creative warfare," Veltar said. "You think in ways other species do not. We are begging you to send your strongest warriors. Send your best soldiers. Without help, the Zenithian Republic will fall in 1 week." The transmission ended. Morrison stared at the blank screen. Around the command center, officers waited for orders. Everyone knew this was a bad situation. Hayes pulled up a tactical display. "Look at these numbers, Jake. The Korthak have over 10,000 ships heading for Zenithian space. Each of their battleships has more firepower than our entire Pacific fleet." Morrison studied the data. The Korthak war fleet was massive. Their ships were armed with quantum plasma cannons that could cut through any known armor. They had adaptive energy shields that got stronger every time they were hit. Worst of all, they moved together like a single giant organism, coordinating attacks across thousands of vessels at once. "What about our new cruisers?" Morrison asked. Hayes shook her head. "The Lincoln and the Washington are our most advanced ships, but they would last maybe 10 minutes against one Korthak battleship. We'd need 100 years to build a fleet that could fight them directly." Morrison walked to the window. He thought about the Zenithians, who had always been good allies to Earth. They had shared their medical technology, which had saved millions of human lives. They had helped establish trade routes that made Earth wealthy. Now they were going to die, and there was nothing the Earth military could do about it. "Sir?" Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park approached with a data pad. "I've been analyzing the Korthak fleet movements. There's something interesting here." Morrison took the pad and looked at the tactical analysis. The Korthak ships moved in perfect formations. When one group changed direction, all the others adjusted instantly. When they attacked, every ship fired at exactly the right moment. There was no wasted motion, no confusion, no mistakes. "They're coordinated," Morrison said. "More than coordinated," Park replied. "Look at the timing. Ships that are light hours apart are responding to commands in real time. They have to be using some kind of faster-than-light communication network." Hayes came over to look. "Quantum, entanglement communications. We know the Korthak have that technology, but we've never seen it used on this scale." Morrison studied the data more carefully. Every Korthak ship was connected to every other ship through an invisible network. Commands flowed from the flagship down through regional commanders to individual vessels. It was like a giant computer network, but made of spaceships. "What if we're thinking about this wrong?" Morrison said slowly. "What do you mean?" Hayes asked. Morrison pointed at the screen. "Veltar asked for our strongest warriors. Everyone assumes that means soldiers with guns. But what if our strongest warriors aren't the kind that fight with weapons?" Hayes frowned. "I don't follow." Morrison was thinking about his nephew Danny, who had hacked into the Pentagon's network when he was 16 just to prove he could do it. He thought about the cyber warfare division that spent their days breaking into enemy computer systems. He thought about the generation of Americans who had grown up treating digital networks like playgrounds. "The Korthak have the best weapons and the best ships," Morrison said, "but they're all connected through a computer network. And computer networks can be hacked." Hayes stared at him. "You want to send hackers to fight a space empire?" "I want to send our best digital warriors," Morrison replied. "People who understand that the real battle isn't between ships shooting at each other. It's between the systems that control those ships." Morrison turned to Park. "Get me Alex Chen." Park looked confused. "The consultant? She doesn't work for us anymore." "She's the best network infiltration specialist on the planet," Morrison said. "If anyone can find a way into Korthak systems, it's her." Hayes was shaking her head. "Jake, this is crazy. You're talking about sending computer experts to fight against the most powerful military in the galaxy." Morrison looked back at the screen where Veltar's message had played. "The Zenithians asked for our strongest warriors. They didn't specify what kind of war we'd be fighting." He walked back to his desk and activated the secure communication system. "Get me a priority channel to Alex Chen. Tell her the government has a job that requires her particular skills." "What kind of job?" Hayes asked. Morrison smiled grimly. "The kind where the fate of an entire civilization depends on breaking into the right computer system." Within an hour, Morrison was on a secure video call with Alex Chen. She was in her apartment in San Francisco, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, her black hair pulled back in a ponytail. Behind her, Morrison could see multiple computer monitors displaying code and network diagrams. "Commander Morrison," Alex said. "I heard this was urgent." "Alex, I need to ask you something, and I need you to give me a straight answer. Is there any computer network in existence that you couldn't hack into, given enough time and resources?" Alex leaned back in her chair. "That's a loaded question. Every system has weaknesses. It's just a matter of finding them and exploiting them." "Why?" Morrison sent her the tactical data about the Korthak fleet. He watched her face as she studied the information on her screens. "This is interesting," Alex said after a few minutes. "They're using quantum-entangled communications for fleet coordination. Very advanced, but also very structured. Hierarchical command protocols, rigid data pathways." She looked up at the camera. "You want me to hack into an alien empire's military network?" "I want you to save 12 billion innocent lives," Morrison replied. Alex was quiet for a long moment. "I'd need a team. Marcus Johnson for hardware interfaces, Linda Rodriguez for AI analysis, Danny Park for signal intelligence, Karen Walsh for psychological operations." "Done. Whatever you need." "And I'd need to get close to their network." "Real. Close. Like in the same star system close." Morrison nodded. "We can arrange transport." Alex grinned. "Commander, you realize you're asking me to do something that's never been attempted before in the history of warfare?" "Is that a problem?" "No," Alex said. "That's exactly why I'm going to say yes." The command center of the Zenithian flagship Bright Dawn was completely silent. Admiral Zexland stared at the tactical display in shock. Where moments before there had been 7,000 Korthak warships preparing to destroy his world, now there was empty space. "They're gone," Ambassador Veltar whispered. "How are they gone?" Alex Chen stood beside the main display screen, watching as the last of the enemy ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel. Her team was packed around Marcus Johnson's quantum interface, monitoring the final communications from the retreating fleet. "Danny, what are they saying as they leave?" Alex asked. Danny Park pulled off his headphones, his face showing amazement. "Standard retreat acknowledgements. All fleet commanders are confirming they received direct orders from Emperor Thrax to return home immediately. They're discussing how to redistribute forces to deal with whatever emergency is happening in their core systems." "What emergency?" Admiral Zexlan demanded. "What are they talking about?" Alex smiled. "There is no emergency. We made it up." The Zenithian admiral stared at her. "You made up an emergency in the Korthak home systems?" "We made Emperor Thrax order his own fleet to retreat," Linda Rodriguez explained from her position at the computers. "We sent a fake message through their communication network that appeared to come from their supreme commander." Admiral Zexlan walked closer to the display. "That's impossible. Their quantum communication network is completely secure. You cannot fake messages on quantum-entangled channels." Marcus looked up from his jury-rigged interface. "You can if you have the right equipment, and you understand how their network protocols work. We've been sending fake messages through their system for the last 6 hours. 6 hours? Veltar's large eyes went even wider. "You've been manipulating their fleet for 6 hours? Alex nodded. "We started small. A few ships here and there sent to investigate false alarms. Then we escalated to larger groups, ordering them to respond to fake emergencies. We targeted their logistics network and sent hundreds of ships away for maintenance that wasn't needed." Karen Walsh looked up from her psychological analysis. "We used their own rigid military hierarchy against them. Korthak culture doesn't allow subordinates to question orders from superiors. If a fleet admiral receives orders from a regional commander, he obeys instantly. If a regional commander receives orders from the Emperor, the same thing happens." Alex walked to the tactical display and pointed at different areas of empty space. "Right now, there are approximately 3,000 Korthak ships scattered across a dozen star systems. They're all responding to fake emergencies we created. Another 1,000 ships return to supply bases for maintenance they don't actually need." "And the rest?" Admiral Zexlan asked. "The rest are heading home because they think their Emperor ordered them to," Alex replied. "They believe there's a critical situation in their core systems that requires the immediate return of the entire invasion fleet." Linda was monitoring data streams on her computers. "I'm tracking their communications as they travel. They're genuinely worried about what kind of emergency could be serious enough to recall the entire fleet from a major conquest." Ambassador Veltar slowly sat down in a nearby chair. "You defeated the most powerful military force in the galaxy with computers?" "We defeated them with their own assumptions," Alex corrected. "They assumed their communication network was secure because their technology is so advanced. They assumed no enemy would ever attempt digital warfare because no one had ever done it before. Most importantly, they assumed their rigid military hierarchy was a strength." Danny was listening to more intercepted communications. "Alex, you need to hear this. The real Emperor Thrax is starting to receive reports from his fleet commanders about the retreat order." Alex put on a pair of headphones and listened. Through the quantum link, she could hear confused conversations between Korthak officers as they tried to understand what was happening. "Fleet Admiral Korks to Emperor Thrax, confirming receipt of your emergency retreat order. All forces are returning to home systems as commanded. Request clarification on the nature of the emergency. Emperor Thrax to Fleet Admiral Korks. What retreat order? I issued no such command. Admiral, respectfully, we received your direct order through secure channels 37 minutes ago. Maximum priority, full authorization codes. The entire fleet is responding." Alex pulled off the headphones and grinned. "The real Emperor just found out that someone impersonated him and ordered his entire fleet to retreat." "What will he do?" Admiral Zexlan asked. Karen looked up from her psychological profiles. "He has 2 choices. He can order the fleet to turn around and resume the attack, or he can continue the retreat to investigate how someone managed to hack their supposedly secure communication network. Which will he choose? He's a paranoid military commander who's never lost a battle, Karen replied. He'll want to know how this happened before he risks his fleet again, especially since some of his ships have been shooting at each other due to our targeting system sabotage. Alex nodded. Emperor Thrax is facing a problem he's never encountered before. Someone successfully infiltrated his command network and manipulated his entire fleet. From his perspective, if we can send fake retreat orders, we might also be able to take control of individual ships or turn his weapons against him. Marcus was monitoring the quantum interface. Alex, I'm detecting massive communication traffic between the Emperor's flagship and his regional commanders. They're trying to figure out how their network was compromised. Let them wonder, Alex said. The longer they spend investigating, the more time the Zenithians have to prepare better defenses. Linda was analyzing network traffic patterns. I'm seeing something interesting. The Korthak are beginning to shut down their quantum communication network. They're switching to backup systems and isolated channels. Alex felt a moment of concern. Can we still access their systems? For now, yes. But they're learning. If they completely isolate their networks and rely only on local communications, our advantage disappears. Danny looked up from his headphones. I'm hearing reports of a major fleet reorganization. Emperor Thrax is recalling forces from across the galaxy. This isn't just about the Zenithian invasion anymore. They think they're facing a new kind of threat that can attack their command and control systems. Alex realized the full implications of what they had accomplished. We didn't just save the Zenithian Republic. We introduced the Korthak Empire to the concept of cyber warfare. Is that good or bad? Ambassador Veltar asked. For the galaxy? Very good, Alex replied. The Korthak have been conquering worlds for 200 years because they had better technology and perfect coordination. Now they know that an enemy with inferior ships can still defeat them by attacking their networks instead of their hulls. Karen was studying the psychological impact data. The Korthak military leadership is in chaos. They've never faced an enemy that could turn their own systems against them. It's like showing medieval knights that their armor means nothing against gunpowder. Weapons. Alex looked around the command center at the faces of the Zenithian officers. They were beginning to understand what had happened, but she could see they were still having trouble believing it. Admiral Zexalan, Alex said, what would you have done if I had told you yesterday that 5 humans with laptops were going to defeat 10,000 Korthak warships? The Admiral was quiet for a moment. I would have thought you were insane. Exactly. And that's why it worked. The Korthak made the same assumption. They prepared for every kind of conventional attack. Energy weapons, missiles, boarding parties, even suicide runs. They never prepared for someone to hack into their fleet coordination network and turn their own ships against each other. Marcus began packing up his equipment. Alex, we should probably get out of here soon. The Korthak might send scout ships back to investigate how their network was compromised. Agreed. But first, I want to leave them a little surprise. Alex sat down at Marcus's interface and began typing rapidly. Linda, help me craft a message that will really get their attention. What kind of message? A warning. Something to let them know that if they ever attack innocent civilizations again, they'll face the same fate. Together, Alex and Linda composed a message and injected it into the Korthak communication network. It would appear simultaneously on every ship in their fleet, displayed as an emergency priority communication. The message was simple. To the Korthak Empire, your networks are not secure. Your communications are not private. Your coordination is not reliable. If you attack peaceful worlds again, remember what happened today. The humans of Earth are watching. Team Cypher. Danny monitored the Korthak response as the message propagated through their fleet. They're going crazy. Every ship is reporting receiving an unauthorized message from unknown sources. The Emperor is demanding to know how anyone could broadcast to his entire fleet. Alex stood up and looked at the tactical display one final time. The space around Praxis Prime was empty of enemy ships. 12 billion Zenithian lives had been saved without firing a single shot. Ambassador Veltar, Alex said, you asked Earth to send our strongest warriors. I hope you understand now that strength doesn't always come from weapons and armor. Network topology. Once we identify the key command nodes, we can inject orders at precisely the Korthak war fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zenithian system. Alex Chen watched the display screen as 10,000 enemy ships appeared like deadly stars against the darkness. Each vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering, bristling with weapons and protected by adaptive shields. They're beautiful, Linda Rodriguez whispered from her position at the computer station. Terrifying, but beautiful. Alex stood in the command center of the digital ghost, surrounded by her team's equipment. Marcus Johnson's quantum interface hummed quietly in the corner, its jury-rigged components somehow managing to tap into the most advanced communication network in the galaxy. Danny Park sat with headphones on, listening to the enemy fleet's communications. Karen Walsh studied psychological profiles on her tablet. Danny, what are they saying? Alex asked. Danny held up one finger, then pulled off his headphones. Standard arrival protocols, they're conducting sensor sweeps and organizing into attack formations. Fleet Admiral Corks is coordinating the overall assault. He's reporting directly to Emperor Thrax on the flagship. Alex nodded. She had spent the last 36 hours studying the Korthak command structure. Emperor Thrax commanded the entire fleet from his massive ship, the Dominion Eternal. Below him, 5 regional commanders controlled different sections of the fleet. Below them, dozens of fleet admirals managed groups of ships. It was a perfect hierarchy, efficient and deadly. It was also about to become their downfall. Marcus, are the command signatures ready? Alex asked. Marcus looked up from his interface. Perfect copies. I can generate orders that will look completely authentic. To their system. The authorization codes, the formatting, the command protocols, everything matches exactly. Linda turned from her computers. I've mapped their entire network. I know exactly where to inject our false commands to make them look like they're coming from the right sources. Alex walked to the main display and studied the enemy fleet. The ships were arranging themselves into a classic Korthak assault formation. The heavy battleships formed the center, supported by cruisers and destroyers on the flanks. Fast attack craft swarmed around the edges, ready to exploit any weakness in the Zenithian defenses. Karen, give me a psychological assessment, Alex said. Karen looked up from her tablet. They're confident but cautious. The communications indicate they're taking the Zenithians seriously as opponents, even though they expect an easy victory. Emperor Thrax is a veteran commander who's never lost a battle. He's methodical and paranoid. Paranoid how? He constantly worries about ambushes, surprise attacks, and hidden enemies. He's conquered half the galaxy by always assuming his enemies are more dangerous than they appear. Alex smiled. Perfect. We can use that against him. She turned to her team. All right, people. Operation Cascade Failure is about to begin. Marcus, I need you to start with small, subtle commands. Nothing dramatic. Linda, begin mapping their response patterns. Danny, keep monitoring their communications for any signs they're suspicious. Karen, analyze their psychological responses to our manipulations. Alex took a deep breath. What they were about to attempt had never been tried before. They were going to hack into the command network of a galactic empire and turn their own coordination system against them. Marcus, send the first command. Marcus typed rapidly on his interface. Command sent. I'm ordering Squadron 7 in the eastern flank to investigate suspicious energy readings at coordinates that are completely empty space. On the display, Alex watched as 12 Korthak ships suddenly broke formation and headed toward empty space. The movement looked perfectly normal, just a squadron investigating a potential threat. Danny, are they questioning the order? Alex asked. Danny listened to his headphones for a moment. Negative. Squadron 7's commander is reporting that he's investigating possible rebel infiltrators. No questions asked. Excellent. Linda, what's the fleet's response? Linda studied the data flowing through her computers. Regional Commander Vex is slightly confused about why Squadron 7 left formation, but he's not questioning it. The hierarchy is working exactly as expected. Alex nodded. The Korthak military culture was so rigid that subordinates never questioned orders from superiors. If a regional commander told a squadron to investigate something, they did it immediately, and without doubt. Marcus, send the second wave of commands. Over the next hour, Marcus sent a series of subtle orders through the Korthak network. Squadron commanders received instructions to investigate phantom threats. Fleet admirals got priority messages about suspicious activities that required immediate attention. Individual ship captains were told to respond to emergencies that didn't exist. The beautiful coordinated Korthak formation began to develop small gaps as ships left their positions to follow orders that seemed to come from their own command structure. They're starting to look disorganized, Captain Mitchell observed from the bridge. This is just the beginning, Alex replied. Karen, how are they reacting psychologically? Karen studied the communication intercepts Danny was providing. Growing confusion at the middle command levels. Squadron and fleet commanders are wondering why so many ships are being reassigned, but they're not questioning the orders themselves. They assume higher command knows something they don't. Perfect. Marcus, it's time to escalate. Target the logistics network. Marcus cracked his knuckles and began typing furiously. I'm accessing their supply and maintenance systems. This is where it gets interesting. Within minutes, Marcus had infiltrated the Korthak fleet's logistics network. Every military force needed supplies, repairs, and maintenance. The Korthak were no exception, despite their advanced technology. I'm sending emergency maintenance orders, Marcus announced. Battle Group Theta is being recalled for critical shield repairs. Squadron 15 needs immediate ammunition resupply. Fleet Admiral Corks's flagship requires urgent computer system diagnostics. On the display, Alex watched as hundreds of Korthak ships began leaving the main fleet. They weren't retreating. They were following what appeared to be legitimate orders from their own command structure to address critical maintenance issues. Danny, what's the chatter like now? Alex asked. Danny listened intently. Confusion is spreading. Regional commanders are asking each other why so many ships are being recalled for maintenance, but nobody's questioning the orders themselves. Linda looked up from her computers with excitement. Alex, I've found something incredible. Their AI-assisted targeting systems are connected to the same network. I can access them. What can you do with the targeting systems? Watch and learn. Linda's fingers flew over her keyboard. She was accessing the artificial intelligence systems that helped Korthak weapons identify and engage targets. The systems were incredibly advanced, capable of tracking thousands of targets simultaneously and coordinating attacks with perfect precision. They were also completely trusting of data that came from their own network. I'm making a small modification to their target recognition algorithms, Linda said. Just a tiny change that will cause their systems to occasionally misidentify friendly ships as enemy vessels. Alex watched the main display as the first effects of Linda's sabotage became apparent. A Korthak cruiser suddenly opened fire on another Korthak cruiser. The target ship's shields flared as it absorbed the attack. Friendly fire incident in Sector 4, Danny reported, listening to the communications. The attacking ship claims its targeting system identified the other vessel as a Zenithian infiltrator. More friendly fire incidents began occurring throughout the fleet. Ships that had fought together for decades suddenly saw each other as enemies thanks to Linda's subtle modifications to their targeting software. Emperor Thrax is getting angry, Danny reported. He's demanding to know why his ships are shooting at each other. Alex smiled grimly. Time for the navigation hack. Marcus, can you access their jump drive systems? Already working on it, Marcus replied. Their navigation network is integrated with everything else. I can send false stellar positioning data to their jump drives. Navigation in space required precise knowledge of stellar positions. Ships used complex calculations based on the locations of stars, planets, and other celestial objects to determine where they were and where they wanted to go. If that data was wrong, ships would jump to completely different locations than intended. Marcus began flooding the Korthak navigation network with false positioning data. The changes were subtle, just small errors in the calculated positions of key reference stars. But those small errors would cause massive mistakes when ships tried to jump to specific coordinates. Battle Group Zeta is jumping to investigate. A reported Zenithian ambush fleet, Danny announced, except they're jumping to empty space 50 light-years away from anything important. Alex watched as entire sections of the Korthak fleet began disappearing. They weren't retreating. They were following orders to jump to locations where they thought they were needed. Unfortunately, thanks to Marcus's navigation sabotage, they were jumping to random coordinates throughout the sector. How many ships have left the main fleet? Alex asked. Linda checked her displays. Approximately 3,000. They're scattered across a dozen different star systems. Veltar stood and approached Alex. I understand. Your warriors fight in a battlefield we never knew existed. 3 months after the Zenithian crisis, Alex Chen sat in a secure briefing room deep inside Earth Defense Command. Around the table sat the most senior military officers on the planet, including General Patricia Hayes and Commander Jake Morrison. The room's walls displayed tactical information about galactic developments since Team Cypher's mission. The Korthak Empire is in complete chaos, General Hayes announced to the assembled group. Their military has suffered the most significant defeat in their history, and they still don't fully understand how it happened. Alex looked at the displays showing Korthak fleet movements, instead of the coordinated formations that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. The enemy ships now traveled in small, isolated groups with limited communication between vessels. They've shut down their quantum communication network entirely, Marcus Johnson reported. He sat beside Alex, still wearing his casual clothes despite the formal setting. They're using short-range radio and laser communications now. It's like they've gone back to Stone Age technology. Danny Park, monitoring galactic communications from his position at the table, added his analysis. The psychological impact has been enormous. Korthak commanders are questioning every order they receive. Their rigid hierarchy is breaking down because they can't trust their own communication systems anymore. Commander Morrison leaned forward. What's the strategic impact across the galaxy? Karen Walsh consulted her tablet. 17 different species have declared independence from Korthak rule in the last 2 months. The Empire's grip on conquered worlds is collapsing because they can't coordinate their occupation forces. Alex felt satisfaction at the news, but she also understood the larger implications. We've introduced a new form of warfare to the galaxy. Every military force is now trying to figure out how to protect their networks from digital attack. Linda Rodriguez looked up from her laptop. I've been monitoring communications from dozens of alien civilizations. They're all asking the same questions. How did humans hack into the most secure network in the galaxy, and could someone do the same thing to them? General Hayes activated a new display showing intelligence reports from across human space. The political ramifications have been significant. Earth's reputation has changed overnight. We're no longer seen as a minor species with limited military capabilities. How are other civilizations reacting to us now? Alex asked. With respect and caution, Morrison replied. The Altarian Federation has requested a formal alliance. The Vegan Commerce League wants to hire human cybersecurity consultants. Even the Andromedans are interested in establishing diplomatic relations. Alex nodded. The Andromedans were an ancient species that had previously ignored humanity entirely. If they were reaching out, it meant Earth's demonstration of cyber warfare. Capabilities had impressed some very sophisticated civilizations. What about the Zenithians? Alex asked. Morrison smiled. Ambassador Veltar sends his gratitude every week. The Zenithian Republic has established a permanent embassy on Earth. They're also funding a new cybersecurity research center at MIT. Marcus laughed. They want to learn how to do what we did. Can they? General Hayes asked. Linda shook her head. Not easily. What we accomplished required a very specific combination of human creativity, computer expertise, and understanding of information, warfare. Most alien civilizations think too literally about combat. They focus on kinetic weapons and energy shields. Alex understood what Linda meant. Humans had grown up with computer networks and digital systems. They instinctively understood that information could be a weapon just as powerful as any missile or laser cannon. Most alien species saw computers as tools, not battlefields. Are we sharing our techniques? Alex asked. Morrison exchanged glances with General Hayes. That's complicated. The President has classified cyber warfare techniques as strategic weapons. We're being very careful about what we reveal to other species. Danny looked up from his communication intercepts. Alex, you should hear what the Korthak are saying about us. Alex put on headphones and listened to translated Korthak communications. The harsh voices spoke in tones she had never heard before. Confusion mixed with something that sounded almost like fear. The humans possess unknown weapons that can corrupt thought itself. They can turn our own systems against us without physical contact. How do we fight an enemy that attacks through information? Alex pulled off the headphones. They still don't understand what we did. They think we have some kind of mystical technology that can control their minds. In a way, we do, Karen said. We understand how to manipulate information systems and human psychology. To a species that has never encountered cyber warfare, that probably does seem like mind control. General Hayes activated another display showing Earth's military developments. Based on your success, we're establishing a new branch of the Armed Forces, Digital Warfare Command. Alex, we'd like you to head the new division. Alex considered the offer. Leading Earth's cyber warfare efforts would be a significant responsibility, but it would also give her the resources to develop new techniques and train the next generation of digital warriors. What would my mission be? Alex asked. Defend Earth and our allies from any civilization that might try to use superior technology to dominate others, Morrison replied. The Korthak won't be the last empire to threaten peaceful worlds. But now we've proven that technological superiority isn't enough if your networks can be compromised. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Are we going to tell people how we really did it? I mean, the technical details? General Hayes shook her head. The methods remain classified. We want potential enemies to know we can hack their systems, but we don't want them to know exactly how we do it. Alex understood the strategy. Uncertainty was a powerful weapon. As long as other species weren't sure about the limits of human cyber warfare capabilities, they would be cautious about attacking Earth or its allies. Linda was monitoring galactic news feeds on her laptop. Alex, there's something here you should see. The Galactic Council is debating new regulations about network security and cyber warfare. Alex read the translated document on Linda's screen. The Galactic Council, a loose organization of the most advanced civilizations, was trying to establish rules about digital attacks on military networks. They want to ban cyber warfare? Alex asked. Some species do. Others want to develop their own capabilities. It's causing a major political split. Karen looked up from her psychological analysis reports. The galaxy is dividing into two camps. Species that want to control information warfare and species that want to develop it. Earth is caught in the middle. Alex realized that their success against the Korthak had created a new kind of arms race. Instead of building bigger weapons or stronger shields, civilizations were now competing to develop better network security and more sophisticated hacking techniques. What's our position in the Galactic Council? Alex asked. Commander Morrison smiled grimly. We're advocating for responsible use of cyber warfare techniques. We support using digital attacks against aggressive military forces, but we oppose using them against civilian infrastructure. Are other species accepting that distinction? Some are. Others think any form of information warfare is too dangerous to allow. General Hayes stood up and walked to the main display. Alex, your team has fundamentally changed how warfare works in this galaxy. The question now is how we use that advantage responsibly. Alex looked around the table at her team. Members. Marcus was already thinking about new technical challenges. Linda was analyzing network vulnerabilities in dozens of alien communication systems. Danny was intercepting communications from species that were trying to develop their own cyber warfare capabilities. Karen was studying the psychological impact of digital attacks on different alien cultures. I'll take the position, Alex said. But I have conditions. What conditions? General Hayes asked. First, we only use cyber warfare against aggressive, military forces. No attacks on civilian populations or peaceful governments. Second, we share basic defensive techniques with our allies so they can protect themselves. Third, we maintain ethical standards. No permanent damage to enemy systems. No attacks that could cause loss of life. Morrison nodded. Those conditions are acceptable. The President wants Earth to be seen as a responsible leader in this new form of warfare. Alex stood up and looked at the displays showing galactic political developments. The Korthak Empire spent 2 centuries conquering weaker civilizations because they had superior technology. We've shown the galaxy that there's always a way to fight back, even against seemingly impossible odds. What's next? Marcus asked. Next, we make sure no other empire can terrorize peaceful worlds the way the Korthak did, Alex replied. We teach defensive cyber warfare to species that need protection. We develop new techniques to stay ahead of potential enemies. And we make it clear that Earth stands with civilizations that want to live in peace. Danny was listening to intercepted communications. Alex, I'm picking up interesting chatter from the Andromedan Collective. They're discussing something called Project Digital Shield. What's that? Sounds like they're trying to develop quantum-encrypted networks that... The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast dome under the artificial stars. 67 different species had their representatives seated in the circular chamber, each one speaking for billions of lives across the galaxy. The air buzzed with translation devices working to convert thousands of different languages into something everyone could understand. Dr. Amanda Clark stood at the center podium, her hands steady despite the weight of the moment. She was human, one of the newest species to join this ancient gathering. Around her, creatures of every imaginable shape watched with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall for thousands of years. Some looked like walking trees with silver, bark, and glowing leaves. Others floated in tanks of methane gas, their tentacles moving in patterns that meant words in their strange language. The most frightening were the Hive Collective, giant insects that spoke with one shared mind across. Their entire race, but today all of them were listening to her. "Honored members of the Council," Amanda began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "I present to you humanity's latest discovery in quantum field manipulation." She pressed a button on her device, and a hologram appeared above the podium. It showed waves of energy dancing in impossible patterns, bending space itself into new shapes. The display made several alien representatives lean forward with interest. "This technology allows us to reshape matter at the quantum level," Amanda continued. "We can turn lead into gold, create new elements that don't exist in nature, and even bend space to make faster travel possible." Captain Jake Morrison sat in the human section, watching the alien faces carefully. He had been a soldier for 20 years before becoming Earth's military representative to the Council. His job was to read the room, to spot danger before it became a threat. Right now, every instinct he had was screaming that something was wrong. The aliens weren't showing excitement or curiosity like they usually did when humans shared their discoveries. Instead, they looked afraid. Dr. Lisa Park, sitting next to Jake, noticed it too. She was one of Earth's best scientists, and she had helped Amanda develop the quantum technology. The math was beautiful, the applications were endless, and the benefits to all galactic civilization could be enormous. So why did the chamber feel so cold? Ambassador Paul Wright had been Earth's diplomatic voice for 5 years. He understood alien politics better than most humans, and he could see the subtle signs of trouble. The crystalline Zephyrians had dimmed their natural light, which meant they were deeply concerned. The gaseous Nethians were condensing into tight, defensive forms. Even the peaceful plant-like Sylvans were rustling their leaves in patterns that meant distress. "Questions?" Amanda asked, finishing her presentation. The silence stretched on for long minutes. Then, slowly, the massive form of Council Prime Zerath 9 rose from the Hive Collective section. The creature stood 12 feet tall, its insect body gleaming black under the chamber lights. When it spoke, the voice came from 1,000 throats at once, creating an echo that made human skin crawl. "Dr. Clark of the human species," Zerath 9 said, each word deliberate and heavy. "The council must now discuss your presentation. Please return to your seats." Amanda walked back to the human section, confusion clear on her face. Jake caught her eye and shook his head slightly. Something was very wrong here. The alien sections began buzzing with conversation in languages the human translation devices couldn't quite keep up with. But the tone was clear enough: fear, anger, and something that sounded like panic. Gorvex of the Stone Lords was the first to stand when the discussion opened. The massive rock creature's voice rumbled like an earthquake. "This technology is too dangerous. Humans advance too quickly. They don't understand what they're playing with. The rate of human technological progress is unprecedented," added Mistral 7, of the Wind Dancers, her gaseous form swirling with agitation. "In 50 years, they have achieved what most species take centuries to develop." "They share their knowledge freely," pointed out Elder Thornbark of the Sylvans, trying to be fair. "Their intentions seem pure." "That makes it worse," hissed Zerath 9. "They give weapons to children and call it progress." Paul Wright stood up, his diplomatic training taking over despite his growing alarm. "Honored Council, humanity has always followed galactic law. We share our discoveries because we believe knowledge belongs to everyone. We seek only to help." "Help?" Zerath 9's compound eyes fixed on Paul with an intensity that made the human diplomat step back. "Human, your species has developed the power to unravel the fabric of space-time itself. Do you understand what that means? It means we can solve energy crises, create resources where none exist, and help everyone live better lives," Lisa Park said, standing to support her ambassador. "It means you can destroy reality," roared Gorvex. "Your quantum manipulation doesn't just affect matter and energy. It affects the very laws that hold the universe together. One mistake, one experiment gone wrong, and entire star systems could cease to exist." The human delegation exchanged horrified looks. They had run thousands of computer simulations, tested the technology in isolated space, followed every safety protocol they could think of. But now they were being told their greatest achievement was actually a weapon of unimaginable destruction. "We would never use the technology for harm," Amanda protested. "Every human research team takes safety oaths. We have strict controls on who can access quantum manipulation equipment." "You have controls now," said Zerath 9 coldly. "But what happens when your species spreads across more worlds? What happens when ambitious humans decide they want more power? What happens when someone makes a simple mistake with forces that can tear holes in reality?" The chamber fell silent again. Then Zerath 9 spoke the words that would change everything. The Galactic Council has reached a decision. By unanimous vote of all 66 non-human species, we invoke Containment Protocol 7. Jake Morrison felt his blood turn to ice. Every human in the chamber knew what Protocol 7 meant. He had studied it during his military briefings, hoping it would never be used. It was the Council's ultimate punishment for species that posed an existential threat to galactic civilization. Protocol 7 means the complete technological suppression of human civilization, Zerath 9 continued, his voice carrying across the now silent chamber. All human worlds will be placed under orbital blockade. All human technology above pre-industrial levels will be systematically destroyed. Humanity will be reduced to a primitive state until such time as the Council determines you are no longer a threat. That could take thousands of years, Paul Wright said, his diplomatic mask finally cracking to show the horror underneath. Then humanity will have thousands of years to learn wisdom, Zerath 9 replied without emotion. The chamber erupted into chaos as every human representative began shouting at once, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of heavy footsteps as Council security forces entered the hall. The guards were members of the Titan Corps, genetically enhanced soldiers from a dozen different warrior species. They moved with military precision toward the human section. Amanda Clark managed to reach her emergency communicator before the first guard could grab her. Her fingers found the activation switch just as massive hands closed around her arms. Across the galaxy, on every human world and space station, a simple message went out on frequencies only humans monitored. The Council has turned. Prepare for war. Jake Morrison fought against the guards holding him, his soldiers' training taking over. You're making a mistake, he shouted at Zerath 9. Humans don't back down from fights. We don't give up when things get hard. If you want a war, you'll get one. Zerath 9's compound eyes reflected the chamber lights as he watched the humans being dragged away. We do not want war, Captain Morrison. We want survival. Your species has forced us to choose between your freedom and the continued existence of everything else in the galaxy. We choose existence. As the human delegation was led away to detention cells, none of them could have imagined that their species' greatest trial was about to become their greatest transformation. The Council had just made the mistake that would haunt them forever. They had underestimated what humans become when they have nothing left to lose.